Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. We have almost knocked out another week. It is Baby Friday. Misty Doo said perfect timing. Thank you, Misty Doo. Hello, Laverne. Hi, Celeste. Hello, Aggie. Hi, Rexy. I missed just me. I was in here chatting this morning. Hello, Angel P. Dancer94. Hello. Hi, May. Hey, K-Love. Snazzy. Good morning. Snazzy was already in reminding everybody to hit the like. Please take a second to hit the like. YouTube, it's the way that we get our message out. Hello, Bridge. I haven't seen you in a while. I just commented on a picture of Barb's in the Crime Lines and Lies Facebook group. She's got a gorgeous patio. Amazing flowers. I have to take a screenshot of this. Carol Claus sent OJ a $5 super sticker so OJ can get more bacon. OJ loves bacon. Absolutely adores bacon. He smells it. He haunts me. He stalks me until he gets it when it's cooking. He loves it. Good morning, Tiff. How's it going? Lex made it in. Aaron made it in. Good deal. Yeah, it might seem like a little bit of, no pun intended, overkill to do a trial recap, but we really can't discuss it throughout the week. And I know there is a ton of stuff that is all on our minds. Christina loves bacon. See what's on Christina's mind? NC said, I hope OJ is behaving himself. So far, so good. But you never know. OJ's been kind of a pill this week. Ryan Christie's in Miami. Gosh, I love Miami. What's the weather like? What's the weather like, Miss Christie? It has been raining here all week long. And you know, when it's just like a torrential downpour, you get that dull headache that you just can't get rid of. Yeah. Yeah. Also, before the show started, Carol gifted 5 memberships, and so did Big T. So make sure you hit allow gifts so you can get the gift, as they are sharing the love for sure. Tiffany said they're going to Vegas for Bethany's statement, Brooks. I don't even know what to say about that. I'm going to do a whole show about it on Monday because my brain needs time to marinate all that. Woo, one thing after another. Ryan said it's hot as hell there compared to Michigan. Lap it up, my friend. I love Miami. I love it. So, kind of a cliffhanger after yesterday, was it not? My question is, will Leticia testify? I can't imagine her attorneys advising her to, but let's face it, Leticia, and all her mail order degrees, is the smartest person she knows. Will she testify? Because I'm here for it. Now, if it's the day of my son's wedding, I will miss it. I know he won't reschedule his wedding for me to hear Leticia's testimony, but let's face it, it's going to probably take us till Christmas because she loves the sound of her own voice. She loves it. I don't know. There's a lot going on. I was concerned yesterday by the questions that the jury was asking because it tells me that they're milling over this insane versus sane question that's on the table. Mental illness is a big buzzword, and it only takes one to agree with the testimony of Dr. Dorothy Lewis, which we're going to be hearing next week, to where she says in her 60-some years of experience that there's no way Leticia could have stopped herself from killing Gannon. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. But she has flipped many, many, many juries. And I just hope this is one that she doesn't flip. I hope she doesn't. All right, I'm going to get to the comments from last week's recap, and then we're going to get to the show. First thing on the table, well, second, because we're going to do the comments first, is will Leticia testify? What do you guys think? Do you think she's going to testify or not? Okay, pretty much all the comments I had were mainly about Harley. Harley was the big topic of conversation last week, so I'm going to go through these. Rowena says, I hate that I missed the live. I hate that you missed it too, Rowena. She said, I'm looking forward to Harley's testimony for the defense. Okay, now that is still in the air that Harley is supposed to come back and testify for the defense. I don't know if she for sure will, but that's the word on the streets. Rowena says, in my opinion, she was a victim and an accessory. Even before leaving Colorado, the screaming, don't say anything, because Leticia yelled at her and said, don't say anything. Don't tell them anything. She would have had to have known something in order to have that warning. She may not even realize what she knew or what she had witnessed. But anyway, Rowena said she was raised by an evil monster that will take years upon years to truly face her own DNA and Leticia's molding of her through her childhood. Either way, it's really a tragedy. It is. Now, some people say Harley is in no way, shape, or form a victim. Only Gannon is a victim. Now, in a case like this, normally I would agree. In a case like this, and it's just my opinion, I think pretty much anybody who ever got in Leticia's crosshairs has been screwed over one way or another. She is a pathological liar. She is self-centered. She is entitled. She's a narcissist. Did I mention she's a pathological liar? She can manipulate anyone. I also wonder about Lena. What is Lena doing? And of course, I mean, I'm good with not knowing. She needs her privacy to sort through what she went through, because at some point she's going to have the realization, if she hasn't already, that when she was sent out on her bike ride, it was for Leticia to either begin the cleanup or finish killing Gannon. A lot of people think that Lena could have been in danger that day. I don't know. It's one thing to kill one of Al's kids, but both of them? Only Leticia, though. Julie said, my problem about Harley is that the El Paso County Sheriff had enough evidence to charge her of a serious crime. They wouldn't do that willy-nilly. She only got out of the charges because she signed the proffer agreement. She's a victim of teabag, but she knows way more. She does. And the thing is about the Harley conversation is it's very split down the middle. Harley makes people feel a certain way. They either are, Harley's a victim, leave her alone, cut her a break, or they're no way, no how. She was old enough to know better, and she should have cooperated with the detectives before she left Colorado. Either way, there was no stopping Leticia from her plan, because that plan was set into motion, and I don't think anybody would have gotten in her way. Just my opinion, though. Fine Art on Fire said, if I can get to it, I got to scroll, said that's exactly why he asked her if she loved her mother. Still, then he struck it. Now, Fine Art is talking about the attorney at the end of Harley's testimony saying, do you love your mother? I think it was sort of a dirty thing to do to her, to put her on the spot like that, because of course she still loves her mother. But it weighs with the jury that she didn't cooperate because she does love her mother. But Fine Art says that's exactly why he asked her, do you love your mother? Fine Art says, because you can't unring the bell even though he struck it. He asked that to show the jury she does love her mother. And then it's going to make her different in her testimony. So he asked so the jury would see her love come out, then struck it before the objection. He said, I picked up on his reason the second he did it. I thought it was a great move for the prosecution. He'd been planning that move with the I'll strike it for weeks. I agree. He said that was no last minute strike that he had just thought about. No, I think he had probably rehearsed that in the mirror many times. Oh man, what to do? What to do? Barb Murray, thank you for the super sticker, said, how did Al not see any of these behaviors? Well, his own mother, who was a nurse practitioner for a psychiatrist, I believe, made it very clear in her visits to Colorado that something needs to be done with her daughter-in-law. Somebody got to get her medicated up. Let's look at all the things that didn't happen that Leticia swears did. There was no Eduardo. There was no Quincy Brown. Nobody in the military sexually harassed her. She was not pregnant with twins. She did not have cancer. These are very, very serious lies. Most people would have been done after lying about being pregnant with twins. But he hung in there. I don't know what makes people hang in there when all the writing's on the wall. Tiff said, Mom said Leticia needs to be medicated. Oh, she did. She's like, I don't know. Horse tranquilizer for her. She is evil AF. Wes said her lies are golden. Her lies are something. I mean, her lies don't even make sense. Like, on no planet are they even believable. The Twilight crap from yesterday was LOL. Mara says she's not a doctor either. No, she's a mail order doctor. I don't believe all these degrees where she's like, oh, I have a doctorate and I have a master's. You can buy degrees. You can put them in a frame. You can put them on the wall. You just can't get a job with them. She's like Liberty University and all these. I very seriously doubt it. Betty said, do you know Al's mom raised concerns? She didn't testify. It was just what they said in court. I'm glad you're back, Betty. We missed you. It's just what they said in court. Al mentioned it, and then it was mentioned yesterday. Let's look at the end of court yesterday and discuss if... I mean, she lies more than Casey Anthony, and I didn't think we would see that because I thought Casey Anthony had the balls of a burglar. She made up the babysitter. She took the authorities straight to Universal Studios. She didn't even work there. Leticia, she won. She won on this one, that's for sure.
All right. Prosecution, what felony convictions would you rely upon to impeach the defendant's credibility if she were to testify?
I don't believe there are any, Judge.
All right. Ms. Stout, how old are you, ma'am? All right. And how much?
I wish they would have turned on her microphone for that. Bonafide says, do you feel Harley will continue the relationship with her mom? I don't know. I have no idea. I really hope not. Okay, so he asked the state what felony would impeach her from defending herself. They said none. Now, if you watch the DA, his eyes are like lasers looking straight at her. He's just waiting for her narcissism to get the best of her and her to go, yes, I'm going to testify in my own defense. You bet. You bet. They ask, what is your education? How old are you? What do you think will happen?
How much education have you had? Okay. I've heard through the trial that you have a bachelor's, a master's, a master's, and a doctorate degree. Is that accurate? Okay. I'll turn that one on. I will. Just for this one, yeah. That is, it's either 3 or 4. Right. And how's your health today, ma'am? Are you now, or have you been under the influence of any alcohol or drugs in the past 24 hours? Do you understand that you have a right not to testify? And that if you choose not to testify, then the jury can be instructed about that right and be told that the jury cannot infer your guilt from the fact that you remain silent, and it would still be the prosecution's burden to prove the elements of the case to the jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand, however, that you have a right to testify? Do you understand that if you want to testify, no one can prevent you from doing so? Do you also, do you further understand that if you choose to testify, you may be cross-examined by the prosecution concerning any matters which are relevant and material to this case?
She's so respectful. RT has manners. Look at the DA. I wish it was, I really wish the quality was better. Al's looking straight ahead. I believe he's in the orange shirt, but the DA is looking straight at her like please say you're going to testify. Now her attorney, he stands up and he looks at the wall because he's trying not to shit and fall back in it and die laughing. He's like, ho, pack a lunch. You'll realize we're going to be here until New Year's. We're going to be here till New Year's if you let Crazy Train on the stand. She loves to talk. Loves it. Carol, thank you for the memberships. Looks like Catherine got one. Gemini Moon, welcome, everybody. P says he's shooting her laser eyes. Oh, he's baited. He's baited. He's like, please. All you have to say is yes. We want to hear you. Dr. Stout, please testify. Please make my job easy, because he will tear her up.
Do you also understand that juror questions may be submitted, but the same rules of law, evidence, and procedure that apply to juror question or that apply to lawyer questions will also apply to juror questions, and that improper juror questions will not be permitted. However, legally proper juror questions may be asked of you if you decide to testify. Essentially, you've seen that process of questions that have been submitted by jurors to other witnesses. You would be subject to that same process. Do you understand that? Do you understand that the decision to testify or not to testify is yours personally, and only you can make this decision? Do you further understand, even though your attorney may disagree with your decision, that the decision is entirely yours and yours alone?
Yes.
Do you fully understand this advisement?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything further you wish for me to explain to you concerning your right to testify or not testify?
No, sir.
I've given you this advisement because it's required under the law before you make a decision regarding whether you choose to testify or not. I'm not going to ask you about that now. You're entitled to see all of the evidence that's been brought against you by the prosecution. So we need to finish with their case first, but I also understand that we may be getting towards the end of that either by the end of this week or maybe be the beginning of next week. So I want to give you some time to think about it. I want to give you some time to talk to your attorneys about it. There's a lot of evidence in this case. There are a lot of things that you may need to consider before you make that decision. At some point, however, I will ask you the ultimate question. What is your decision? You don't need to tell me now, but I want you to think about that because at some point I'm going to ask you that question. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I muted those again. Okay. You tested them, right?
Okay, purple tie. Her lawyer there, purple tie. He can't quite. I guess he doesn't realize that everybody in the damn courtroom is sitting down except for him. He's standing there like he can't keep himself still. Like, how dare you, judge, even bring this up to her? Do you know what we've been dealing with? What happens if Maria Sanchez or Jasper from Twilight takes the stand? I don't think I'm going to be able to contain myself. And there's the DA still looking straight at her, trying to use some sort of Jedi mind trick. Just say it. Just say it, Leticia. Just say, yes, I will. Yes, I will. Sword says anxious, isn't he? Yeah. At what point did you realize you are the only bastard in the room standing up, purple tie? And everybody else is sitting there except the DA, who is looking. Who will take the stand? Jasper, Maria, Taylor, Jasmine. Diana, thank you for the super sticker, said, please testify. Yes, please do. Please do. P said she's going to come up with 5 more personalities between now and then, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'll be taking the laptop in the bathroom with me. Get ready. Woo! I would hate to be purple tie because you can tell he knows he has to explain to her that this is a bad decision. But my God, we see her with the doctors. We saw her with Mr. Men in Black that looks like Randy Travis. She's talking to him mano a mano, one-on-one, one educated person to another. She had the attention of a special agent. She wasn't talking to some lowly ratchet detective from El Paso County. She had the FBI. And they are talking like they graduated high school together. She was loving it. Good luck, purple tie. Good luck. Because I have a feeling Leticia is going to think she's going to murder it, man. She's going to murder it. She's going to say, no, let me tell my story. Like I said, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Because let her get up there. These people, they have that mental image in their mind of the autopsy pictures. They have it in their mind. 3 gunshot wounds, 18 stabs. Don't get me going on the suitcase. But she's going to get up there and say because Al didn't lay the pipe to her enough, didn't tell her she was pretty, didn't take her out for New Year's Eve, and she was basically an indentured servant, she killed Gannon. But it wasn't her, it was Maria Sanchez. Please. Let's do this. Let's do it. Christina said, bring it on like Donkey Kong. Yes. Let's do it. All right. Of all the people to be offended in the last week by this trial, Jose Baez. Now, back in the day when all of this was breaking loose, she said that Jose Baez was going to be her attorney. Yes, that's what she said. Jose Baez. Someone named Rosa, like 3 years ago, said, rumor has it, T. Stouch is claiming you're representing her. And by rumor, I mean there is a screenshot of her stating that. Jose Baez comes back and he's a very busy man. Rich Jose, yes, Betty, he's a very rich man now. Rich Jose took time and he said, this is not true. Well, it came up in the phone conversations and he decided to address that. These days, Jose doesn't have to take pro bono cases. And as we know, he's a night school attorney. No offense to him. And he took Casey Anthony's case pro bono because he flat out, these are his words, not mine, because he said he knew he could win it. He said he knew there was no way that any jury was going to give her the death penalty with no body and no cause of death. And then, of course, during everything that was going on, they did find Kaylee's body, but they couldn't give a cause of death. When the prosecutor said he was going to take the death penalty off the table, they refused because he knew if they had a lesser charge, they would convict her of that. He said, no, talk about, that's a big ball to roll, you know? But these days, he needs cold hard cash. He doesn't need these pro bono cases anymore to make a name for himself. Not at all. And he wasn't about to take Leticia's. But he does talk about it. Let's look at this real quick.
had been in touch with a high-profile attorney who knows a thing or two about representing a woman in a high-profile case accused of killing a child. It was Casey Anthony's former lead attorney.
I'm not a bad person. I'm innocent. I agreed to even take a lie detector test for you.
But that's not for me. I'm not going to give you a lie detector test. Well, I mean,
It's not permissible in court because it's not. I said for you to believe me.
but who are you? Have you talked to them about this lie detector test, or you just told me about it?
No, I got recalled from a big time attorney. I got Baez law firm willing to come and meet me. That's how much they know it's screwed up. You know who the Baez law firm is?
I don't pay attention to that shit.
Do you know who they represented?
No, tell me.
A lot of big time names. And they're and like People magazine, people are like,
Yeah, Leticia, go ahead and tell Al some of the big time names that he has defended. They're freaking murderers like you. They're murderers like you. She just goes on and on about that polygraph test. You would think with all her Googling, she would know that polygraphs don't mean anything. Nothing. Zip zero.
pissed that they're not, that the way that things are going is not the direction of my team. And so if you don't want to be on my team to be like against them fucking everything, then these people will put it out there.
And joining me is Jose Baez, the one and only who was referenced in that piece of audio that you just heard, where Leticia Stout talked about him contacting her about representing him. Jose Baez, welcome to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on. Have you ever been in touch with Leticia Stout?
I thought I had addressed this, I think about a year ago when it first came out in the news, but no, the answer is no. And I usually don't comment. I would say about 95% of the time, I would never comment as to whether someone reached out to our office, because much of that is covered within the attorney-client privilege. But no, we don't have. I've never had any conversations with her. We never entertained representing her. I really don't know what this is all about. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's being brought up in a courtroom. I don't think it has any place in a courtroom as to when an accused person is seeking counsel. So
Jose's pissed. I don't know why this was brought up in a courtroom. So Jose, this isn't the type of publicity he wanted, that he didn't take her case. He's not licensed in Colorado. He's not licensed in Colorado. I thought I addressed this. I don't know why it was brought up. I don't know, I tell you what, when scumbuckets get offended, I pop the popcorn.
I think it's highly inappropriate on both sides, whether, perhaps the defense objected to it coming in, or it should have been redacted from whatever audios were played. But I think it's quite unfortunate.
It's interesting you bring that up. And I will say this because if you listen to the audio clip in which she references your name and says that the Baez law firm has called her about representing her, she talks about her willingness to take a lie detector test. And she says they're not permissible in court. I think she misunderstands the verbiage, which she's correct, but they're not admissible in court. So it's interesting that she would even be allowed to talk about a lie detector test. Obviously, she can talk about whatever she wants on a recorded phone call with her husband. But it's interesting that that would even be allowed in the courtroom.
Yes, I mean, again, even the mentioning of polygraph tests. First of all, we would never call someone to offer out our representation.
Yeah, they're not big on soliciting in states where he's not licensed. So, of course, she's a big-time liar. The reason the polygraph was brought up, obviously, he's not paying attention, so I'm going to help Jose out. I hope you're listening to the show, Jose, and you're welcome to grab the link. That's just a dream. But it's because she was trying to buy one. She was trying to buy a fake polygraph. And of course, the people said to her, no, this isn't about cheating and you're taking this to like divorce court. This isn't about a check you wrote. Your questions are, did I kill Gannon? Did I hurt Gannon? Did I try to burn the house down? I mean, things that she knew she couldn't answer. And Jose would never, ever, ever want one of his clients to take a polygraph. No.
Highly unethical, and it's not something that my firm participates in. So I can tell you this, we have a full caseload, and that was not a case that I was even on my radar. I'm not even familiar with the case, to be honest with you. I know it's probably a murder case. That's about the extent of it. And I remember there was some issue with her traveling to Florida, but
Sure.
that's the extent of what I know about that case. And we certainly never called her. And I think it's highly inappropriate to talk about polygraphs or lawyers in a case. I don't know what that proves or disproves in a murder case, period. So I think it's quite unfortunate that this is going on.
Yeah, I think it's probably all about her telling these multiple stories. That's been a theme throughout this case, is that she told multiple stories about what happened to her stepson. She's now using an insanity defense. So it's an affirmative defense, meaning you basically admit you did it, but you're saying you didn't know right from wrong at the time.
Yeah, maybe it's part of her defense that she's insane, that she's imagining that she called our office. I have no idea.
Maybe that's it, Jose. You're so funny. Maybe that's part of her insanity defense, that she imagined that she called her office. No, she's a pure D liar. She's a pure D liar. But he's saying that all of this being brought up is unethical. I guess he thinks that they should have edited that part out of the phone call. I don't know anything about this stuff. Do you think maybe they're trying to show the jury that she can't tell the truth no matter what? She's capable of it. She just chooses not to live in that world. She chooses not to ring the bell of reality. She doesn't want to. She does not want to. She likes her dream world more. That's all there is to it. And Jose is good at his job. You know, he got Casey Anthony acquitted and several other people. Defense attorneys normally aren't really concerned about who did what. It's only what the state can prove. And it is 100% on the state. Thank you, Carol, for all the memberships. You guys turn on accept gift, and then you'll have access to members' lives and many, many other things. So that's how most defense attorneys are. And it is 100% on the state to prove their case. Do you think that the state of Colorado is proving their case? There's 12 jurors. It only takes one to question, was she sane at the time? Not the 8 days that she had him in the suitcase dragging him around. Not the night before with the candle. This is the picture she took. This is a staged picture. You see the blankets around. They were talking about char marks on the blanket. You see the candle. One of you pointed this out to me. Very good catch. If you look at the top of the wax stain, I guess it is, or the burn mark, you see blood on that carpet. So this was the night before. Then for whatever reason, and I'm going to go ahead and warn you because this picture might trigger you a little bit. The next morning, this is the last known picture of Gannon. She takes this picture of him asleep in bed. Now, why did she do that? This is a very odd picture to take. Angel said if she gets off, it's because of a poor choice of doctors. She's very manipulative. Okay, so when she takes this picture, she was not, there's no question if she was insane, not sane, whatever. It's only at the time of his death. Angel said, is he alive? Yes, he's alive there. Rue said, cruel and calculated. Cruel and calculated. Wow, thank you, Diana. Thank you, thank you. Let's see who got a membership. Nikita, Matt, Jessica. Woohoo! Make sure you check the community tab and you can see the members only posts. This picture really, really haunts me. I don't know who said it. I need to go back up and see it because they said it's a proof of life picture. Gina says, why does the bottom of the bed look raised? I'd like to know too. It does. It looks like it's propped up or something. And if you take a screenshot, you can blow it up and you can see what's on his table. I can't do it on here. It looks funny to me too, Gina. The bottom of the bed looks funny to me. Very scary. And of course, I mean, I'm never going to get off of this one. This is Leticia's mugshot 3 years ago, roughly 3 years. Looks like Leticia, just doesn't have on lipstick or eyeshadow or anything. Doesn't look like there's any foundation or powder on her face. So this is Leticia. And if you saw the thumbnail, I mean, here she is. Look at her. She doesn't even look like, I mean, she looks like the same person, but man, it's been a rough 3 years for her. Look at her. Look at her. She looks totally different. I put this side by side up yesterday during the trial. There's Leticia a few years ago on the right. Now look at her on the left. What in the hell? Some people said it's the medication she's on. Some people said it's just Hang on. Several of you are saying that it looks like a suitcase. Could you just imagine if that suitcase was at the end of the bed and he was sleeping on it? It does. The outline of that looks like a suitcase now that you say it. Man, I'm never going to look at this picture the same again. Wow. Oh, good point, Juicy. Juicy said, yeah, because she wasn't doing that duck face. All those pictures she took, all those selfies and everything, she was making a duck face. It does look like a suitcase. Someone said they heard a long time ago it was a wedge pillow. I don't know. And if you take a screenshot, you can blow it up on your phone and you can see Gannon's head and everything and what's on the table. I just can't do it on here. Caleb said, I did not realize that was her in the white shirt. Yeah, check her out. Check out those curls. We're like, how did she get her hair to curl like that? I mean, I know you can get VO5. I know you can get gel. I know you can get ramen noodles, beefaroni, Diet Pepsi or Shasta. I know you can get all that. But who on earth would be putting money on her commissary? Nana says it looks like a suitcase. I wonder if it is. Elaine said she's bloating up. She is. This picture I can't get over. What is she doing? It looks like she's making the jack off symbol and she's got her tongue sticking out. Look at her. The hell is she doing there? Goodness. If I was the judge, I'd be like, put her back in the corner. Put her back in the corner. Good God, that's spooky. Okay, also, this came out yesterday. It says Cordy, who is in the courtroom, confirms to Recovery Addict 2 that Elle is shackled to the floor and wearing an electric shock belt. And a bailiff is standing close to her at all times. Also, the book she's been reading is the Bible. This was posted in the Crime Lines and Lies Facebook group yesterday, and I said, keep reading. Keep reading, Leticia. Just make sure that you understand that those scriptures are about you and not about everybody else. You demonic thing, you. So she's sitting there reading the Bible. Who has control of the shock belt? Because I would be hitting it all the time. I'd say there was a short in it. She'd be dancing like Michael Jackson if I had it. Reading the Bible. My goodness. I'd be hitting that button every 2 seconds. Woo, woo, woo. All right. So it came to our attention yesterday that Leticia is a big Twilight fan. One of her personalities is Jasper. Yep, Jasper. Look at her attorneys. They don't ever want to make eye contact with any of these witnesses. I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. And we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but this is where a forensic psychologist tells us about those pesky vampires in Alaska that rented a lot of space in her brain.
Tell the jury about that.
Miss Stout introduced a vampire called Justice. She said that there was a button in her cell that she could summon Justice, Jasper, perhaps Patrick, if I remember correctly. She says she had been introduced to vampires when she lived in Alaska previously. And they used to go door to door like Jehovah's Witnesses. And she didn't really offer them in any kind of meaningful way, like wasn't explaining anything or trying to use that information necessarily. But she certainly referenced them throughout the interview.
Did she tell you where she got these names for these so-called vampires she's talking about?
She directed me to the movie Twilight.
And did you find out that these names were from the movie Twilight or the book series?
Yeah.
Okay, Jose Baez, he was on Law and Crime. He's very offended that she had his name in her mouth and that it was introduced in court. He said it was unethical. He didn't like that. He doesn't want that bad press on him. He don't want that bad juju. So I'm waiting for Twilight fans to talk to Law and Crime and Jehovah's Witnesses. For some reason, I'm kind of feeling bad for the Jehovah's Witnesses. She says that the Alaskan vampires go door to door like Jehovah's Witnesses there. Anybody visited Alaska? Anybody live there right now? It's a gorgeous state. I'd never heard about these vampires that go door to door like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Love and Twilight?
Yeah, a few of them for sure. I'm not familiar with the series myself, but I Googled. She talked about a vampire council, and the name of the council was taken directly from that series. And then a couple of the names for sure came from there as well.
And is that something that would be common with someone who has dissociative identity disorder, that they would be able to tell you exactly where the names of other personalities came from and things like that?
Are you drawing a connection between the vampires and DID? Because I got a bit confused there.
No, I'll ask you a different question. What relevance, if any, did that have in your evaluation? The fact that she's talking about vampires that came from a movie.
Well, certainly if somebody's talking about vampires and that appears real to them, that could signify that they're experiencing a mental illness. So I looked further to see, I'm looking for consistency again. So it was notable that she said that she had been interfacing with these vampires since Alaska, but she made no mention of them to the previous evaluators. And she also didn't mention them throughout her jail stay until several months in.
Well, because she was turning up the crazy. You see, the crazy comes out depending on who the audience is. So as she's been talking to correction officers, probably other people in the jail, who knows, other people that interviewed her, she didn't bring up Justice, Jasper, and Patrick, these pesky vampires. But she gets a hold of this twit and she's like, did I tell you about the vampires? And of course she's like, vampires? And she has to sit there and listen to the BS.
I think I lost track of your question. I'm sorry.
Well, what's the significance? It's one thing to say that I talk to vampires and I see vampires. What's the significance of her saying clarification? Well, these vampires came from a movie.
Right. So that's not consistent with a mental illness. It sounded like a fabrication. If people are talking to vampires, I would expect them to have their own unique aspects to them and something unique to the individual that would make sense in a greater scheme of how they see the world. And it just seemed like she was conveying a story essentially from fiction.
And did she bring this up on her own, or did you ask her questions that might trigger that answer?
I didn't ask her any questions about vampires initially.
And I forget the term you used to describe how she was talking to you, but she likes to talk, for lack of a better way to say it, right?
Yes.
Would she just volunteer information to you and change subjects as you're talking to her?
She didn't change subjects a whole lot. I didn't get the impression from her that she wasn't following my line of thought. She was telling a coherent story. She just gave far more information than was necessary to answer the question.
And that is the thing about Leticia. She loves the sound of her own voice. She thinks the more she talks and the more she talks and the more, less is more. And the less you say to a person, the more honed your point is. When there's a ton of detail and rhetoric in there, it confuses the subject. Big time. But she talks and she talks and she talks and she talks. Wild Hair said, what a whack job this lady is. Yeah. And she's a very educated woman, and she had to sit there with greasy head talking about vampires. Bonafide, thank you for the memberships. Thank you, thank you. Freaking vampires. I'd have been like, I'm out. Nah, uh-uh.
Did you perform any psychological testing with Miss Stout?
I administered 2 measures to assess for genuine responding for her mental illness symptoms.
And what were those measures?
The MFAST, which is a Miller Forensic Assessment of Symptoms test, and the SIRS-2, which is a structured interview of reported symptoms.
And what were the results of those psychological tests?
So she exceeded the cutoff on the MFAST. It's a screening measure for feigning. And feigning means the intentional exaggeration or production of mental illness symptoms. So she crossed over the threshold, indicating that she might in fact be feigning, but because it's a screening measure and it wasn't 100% sure, I gave another more comprehensive measure. On that measure, there's several scales. It looks at different aspects of feigning. Are you reporting symptoms that you're not manifesting observable behavior of? Are you reporting inconsistent symptoms, rare combinations of symptoms? So she just elevated one scale on that test, suggesting probable feigning. But on the test overall, it was indeterminate.
And feigning, let's just put it in a nutshell. It means she's lying. She's pretending to be crazy. We've seen many cases where they said, this person cannot participate in their own defense. We got to take them to the hospital. We got to get them on some pills because they don't even know what the hell day it is. They don't know what's up and what's down. But Vampire Girl was just making it all up. She can't even act crazy right.
In your report, it indicates that she yielded a total score of 12. Do you remember what test that was on?
That was on the MFAST.
And what does that mean to you as a psychologist?
So the cutoff in the manual is 6. So if you score anything above 6, it's presumed feigning. But because it's a screening measure, there's a lot of false positives. So they suggest you do more testing. So it's out of 25. If somebody scores over 16, it's like 100% rate of also elevating the SIRS. So at 16, you don't have to give the SIRS as well. So 12, it was certainly elevated. I had concerns, but I wanted to be thorough. I didn't want to just, it's a very prejudicial term to say somebody's feigning or malingering.
Sure.
So I just was being prudent.
Okay. Well, in your report, you indicate that such a score is highly suggestive of malingered psychopathology and indicates the need for further assessment. What did you mean by that?
And that's taken from the manual. So because it is high, most people don't get that score by accident. However, because it's a screening measure, it's not very sensitive. You're going to get false positives. People are going to look like they're feigning when they're not feigning in that scoring range. So that's why more testing is done.
What does the term malingering mean?
Malingering, excuse me, I'm sorry. Malingering is like feigning where you're intentionally exaggerating your symptoms, but with malingering, there's an added element of the presumption of trying to obtain a secondary gain.
Did you see that in this case?
It certainly seemed that Ms. Stout was presenting symptoms that she didn't appear to have. I can never know if somebody is trying to achieve a goal or not. So I didn't offer an opinion on malingering, but certainly there were suggestions that she was not as impaired as she was portraying.
Did you diagnose Ms. Stout with anything or any mental disorder out of the DSM-5 as a result of your competency evaluation?
My diagnostic impressions were that she had some personality dysfunction, both with traits of borderline personality and narcissistic personality, but not meeting threshold for either full disorder.
Okay, there you go. There we go. I think we can all agree on that. Now, mind you, these psychiatrists, forensic psychiatrists, whatever, they have to be around people that truly have these disorders in order to know the difference for when they're around someone who is feigning, like Leticia. But she says she has personality disorders. She is a narcissist. She has to be number one. Let's not forget about what is really going on here. This is just a small sample of her searches. Find me a new husband. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. My husband never posts about me, but does everything else. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. Sent my husband sexual messages and he ignores them. Make my husband want me more. I feel like my husband uses me to babysit his kid. Find a guy without kids. Now, not in the probable cause affidavit, but it was mentioned in trial. She also Googled, and who the hell would Google this? I hate my stepson. I hate my stepson. Yeah. So personality disorder, and I am no way qualified to even talk about this, but her just being a garden variety narcissist, entitled, a brat, basically, does not mean that when she was murdering Gannon, and that was a brutal murder, that she couldn't hold herself back. I don't believe that.
And I offered a rule out of PTSD versus an unspecified anxiety disorder. I just didn't have enough information. And given that it wasn't a clinical information and I wasn't there to help her, I didn't want to probe too much into her trauma.
Did that have any impact on your ultimate conclusion with regard to competency, either of these diagnoses?
Well, those diagnoses would not really reach the threshold of a mental disability.
Is that why you didn't go further and try to rule out post-traumatic stress?
Whether or not she had post-traumatic stress, she did not demonstrate functional impairment as it related to competency. So for my purposes, it wasn't important.
Okay. So what does it mean when you say other specified personality disorder with borderline and narcissistic features? Can you break that down for the jury?
So personality disorders, just like other clinical disorders, have certain criteria that need to be met, and you have to have so many. I believe there might be 7, and you have to have 5 of 7 for each one. So in my impressions of her, she had a couple of features of borderline personality disorder. She was impulsive. She had some kind of push-pull relationships. I don't know what Dr. Moore testified to yesterday, but there was insisting that she saw Dr. Moore, and then Dr. Moore would show up and she'd refuse to see her. That's quite consistent with a borderline personality. And the same for narcissistic personality. Those features are typically a sense of entitlement, grandiosity, a lack of empathy are 3 big ones. Miss Stauch told me on 2 occasions during the interview that she lacked empathy and she didn't experience people's thoughts and feelings.
Not our Leticia. Leticia lacks empathy? Who'da thunk it? Lacks empathy, grandiose. She's grandiose. Let's think about that. Look at how she talks about herself. She thinks she's a Kardashian. Who wants that mess? I don't know, but she did. She talks about all her degrees and gonna be an airline attendant. But she's in education. She takes care of the kids and the mother doesn't. So I think a narcissist can hold back before going into a murderous rage, which it appears she pre-planned. How come she didn't murder him when Lena and Harley were home if she can't hold herself back? She knew she was alone. She knew that she had to finish what she started, and she sent Lena outside. Why didn't she go into any murderous fit when Al was home? Thank you, CR. Thank you for the membership, honey. I go back to this.
Drive a narcissistic person in a relationship are power, control, and domination. And the narcissistic person uses the relationship as a source of validation. If those needs are not being met or cannot be achieved, that is a contributor to the volatility of these relationships.
The volatility, and she exploded. I would love to know what her and Al had going on throughout that weekend. Obviously, he can't be at her every whim and beck and call because he was at Fort Sill. He was in training. Then we see her with Harley. She has to have someone's attention all the time. Harley, Gannon pooped his pants. Gannon pooped his pants. It ruined the hike. We had to go home. It ruined it. We had to go home. Harley Gannon started a fire. If I was Harley, I'd have been like, he shit his pants and started a fire all in one day. How does this even happen? How does that happen? No. No. I think she gave him too much Miralax so he would have an accident and she'd have something to go after Al with. I don't even think he lit that candle. What 11-year-old boy says, oh, it would be great if the living room smelled like vanilla right now? Or do you prefer peach? What do you think, Leticia? No. I think she had him so spun up at all times that she could easily convince him of anything. Anything. Now I'm going to look at this as we began the week. She was one-on-one with Johnny. How do you say his name? Johnny Grusing. Every time I Google it, it pulls up John Grisham. She's a different Leticia with him. She's not talking about vampires. She's not even thinking about bashing him in the nose with a monster can. She is treating him with, well, respect until she gets bratty. But look at how different she is with him. She plays every room she's in. She just doesn't read the room well.
Through there was like little pieces. There was a piece about this size, maybe a couple pieces. But that
you threw it in the back of the truck. That bigger piece.
You said bigger like this. It wasn't that big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like I knew it was not the wood that he would be freaking out over. So from Sunday, he did hurt his foot from Sunday.
And how badly was it bleeding?
It wasn't. I say Saturday. I'm sorry. From Saturday. Albert had just left, like, to drive to the airport. He wasn't even gone long.
Mm-hmm.
He had just left to drive to the airport.
Okay. So did it require a Band-Aid?
Whenever he always does something, he tries to be like, he's not like Lena where he's like, oh, I need a Band-Aid or whatever.
Okay, she's saying about the wood, freaking out over the wood. I think she whopped him over the head with the wood is what I think. I don't think there was any, I mean, how did he cut his foot? Look at all the stories we have for the blood. See, this is the thing. She knows she has to make sense of all the blood. We've heard everything from, of course, the made-up attack by the made-up person, Eduardo. We hear he was picking his fingers. Gannon was picking his fingers. The dogs had their period. So the dogs went to the corner of his room? No, that's where she had him cornered.
Gannon would literally walk around with toilet paper in the middle of his toe, and it would have blood or whatever, and just run everywhere to his room or whatever.
So what did you do on this occasion?
We literally took the paper towel. That's why I just told you about the toe, and put it in between.
So it was in between his toes is where the injury
No,
was?
it was like wrapped here.
Okay.
We had it wrapped. And I don't remember if we got a Band-Aid, to be honest. What? Gannon.
So that doesn't sound like a big injury.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, there was no big injury. I left it on the wood because I said, I'm not going to clean his fine African wood.
What did it look like on the wood? Drops? Streaks?
Well, what I did originally was I was trying to take water to do it, but then I realized if I put cleaner, then that wouldn't do anything but cause the wood to damage, because Albert always wanted to build things with all the wood that we bought. And if I use those pieces of wood and all that stuff,
Did you ever use that shop vac to clean up anything out there?
No, I never used the shop vac. The shop vac was never, I couldn't even like move anything with the shop. Anything that would have been used with the shop vac would have been Albert, other than the times that we brought it, which would have been weeks ago. And we did spring cleaning or fall cleaning around the house, in the corners. So that would have been the shop vac. There was nothing I ever did and vacuumed up something with a shop vac.
Right.
Yeah, the shop vac is the least of your worries, okay? She's actually telling the truth there. She didn't do anything with the shop vac. So I don't know why he threw her that curveball. But she's doing her best to explain why there's blood on the wood. Now, she didn't even realize this. Al brought the wood up to her. And he's like, this is just what they're telling me. They found it. Not only did they find it, but they have reason to believe that that suitcase was out there at one time. She forgot about the wood, or she would have taken it with her, and it had Gannon's DNA on it. Jakey said she wanted to get rid of Gannon, and no doubt she would have got rid of Lena. In my opinion, she only wanted Al. Al even caught that in one of their phone calls. He said, do you even care about Gannon, or do you only care about me? She wanted her daughter and Al, and that was it. I'm wondering how it made Al feel yesterday, and Landon. I believe it was yesterday. My days are running together. A lot of information. When she said that she had told Landon on several occasions that she was going to help her get her kids back. Now, I don't know if this conversation happened or not, but just hearing that would be a real punch in the gut. Big time. Barb says, what happens if she's found insane? She'll go to a hospital and she can apply for release every year. And some, someday she'll get out.
That helps me. I'm
You
just
know,
asking.
like any of that.
Right.
There, none of that ever happened.
So the burns on the arms weren't that bad. The cut on the toe or the bottom of the foot wasn't that
So
bad.
we still were able to go hiking. He was able to still go
Right.
hiking. It was bleeding on the board.
But
we
not
never
after
did.
that, not over the house, that sort of thing.
Well, he had the piece of paper and went down to his room.
Yeah.
Like wrapped around his foot. So I mean, if anything, there could have been drugs in the blood or something. No.
What about the wound to the head that you talked to Al about?
So Albert was like trying to get me to say whatever, because I'm sure you guys are having to do that. I just have to do this. So Albert was trying to get me to say that, like talk to him about, like or whatever. So I threw out some stories to Albert because he was making me so upset, just like everyone not understanding that intervention. And there's someone intervening in this. And that's where people didn't understand and want to say anything. So I just started rambling stuff to Albert. And I even said to you guys, hey, I know you're listening. And it was just to be whatever.
But do you know what that sounds like, though, to a dad who's missing a kid? And then you say, and a previous head wound happened to where it was blood running down his face and that sort of thing. And, had to bandage it up. And
Well, I don't remember saying anything about bandaging up.
I think you said Quincy Brown tried to bandage it up.
Oh, because he was making me mad about something. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't remember me saying I did that.
So
She forgets her own lies. He has listened to their conversations over and over and over again. He's armed for bear. She brought a butter knife to a gunfight. He's like, I've listened to the phone calls. You said that. Oh, yeah. And then she tries to explain herself out of it. At any time she could have said, no, I'm going to get an attorney and forget all this. But no, she can't help herself. She's such a narcissist. She has to talk. She has to talk.
he did suffer a head wound, though. We know.
Head?
Yes. Head or neck.
Okay.
And that is what caused the blood there. And so even if you choose not to tell us where Gannon is today because you're too nervous or whatever else, we would like to know where that was on him. So if we find him on our own, if you've given me the clues to go find him, that sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where was that wound?
Gannon is alive.
He's alive, fine, but where was that wound? Was it his neck or his head?
I don't know anything about a neck or head.
Well, you had to clean up the wall. You went ahead.
That was not, that is not even from what you're talking about there had nothing to do with anything from Saturday, Sunday, and whatever. That had nothing to do with any.
How could it not?
It did
there
not.
was a lot of blood.
It did
And
not.
You're going to have to explain that.
Sir, it did not.
Well, just tell me how.
It did not.
How can she sit there and argue with him with a straight face? Okay, how? When she's like, it did not, sir. And he's like, yeah, there was a lot of blood in that bedroom. It soaked through the carpet, through the padding, to the foundation. It stained the foundation. The people that are living in that house have a stained foundation with Gannon's blood. Through the mattress. The spatter got into the electrical outlets. And there she is. No, it did not. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
I promise
But
you.
you're not going to tell me how. So where we can help you with
You're not going to help me.
How would I not help you? How are you going to get up, Leticia, on the stand after telling all these stories, which we're going to ask you about, and then say, I can explain all that, and it's some party that I never told law enforcement to go chase. If Gannon is alive, we have an 11-year-old kid somewhere being held against his will, and you're not telling us. You might as well have done this yourself. That's why I'm saying.
Let me hold you again. I'll right there. put that
It's
there.
fine.
Hey,
So I've paused it at 2 hours, 8 minutes and 55 seconds. What did she write down in your notebook?
I just remembered the first part, that the head wound was on Saturday.
You remember it saying, and had nothing to do with this?
Words to that effect, yes.
How was the head wound on Saturday right after Al headed to the airport, yet the hike was on Sunday? I don't believe there was any head wound. I believe there was a head wound caused by her, but not by just some clumsy accident. And I certainly don't think it was on Saturday. We saw him walking to the truck. It's very haunting. It's very disturbing. And he has a strange gait about him. It's not that of an 11-year-old boy. He would have never been able to go on that hike on Sunday, which I've always wondered if she didn't have plans for him out there, but Harley was supposed to be on the hike too. I just don't think there was any head injury on Saturday. Nope. I think it was on Sunday, and it was all in with the candle incident.
What was your take on that? That instead of saying it on the camera, she wanted to write it down in your notebook?
Well, whether it's by now, whether it's the argument that she didn't want to talk about, the burns, and even calling Gannon in as absent, I wasn't pushing her. I would give her the opportunity to talk, and then she would not talk, so I would move on. And now that we're to the blood and what happened in the room, I think it was too difficult for her to say it out loud with the head wound.
When she's going over the wound to the head, and then she actually says she just started throwing out stories because Al was making me mad. You remember
Yep, I
that
do.
portion? What were your thoughts on that particular part of the interview?
Well, that was consistent with what she was telling Al on the phone calls. And Al would continue to push her like, we need to find Gannon. And then she would say, what about our relationship? So she would move from finding out what happened to Gannon to her feelings. And that's what she was doing here again.
Is this also an example of her blaming others for her behavior?
Yes.
Did you ask her about blood being found in the back of her Volkswagen Tiguan?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we're going to play that portion next. And Judge, just as I'm watching the time, is there a time that you want me to shoot for a break?
3:10.
Okay,
Something like that.
I'll just watch the clock on that.
All right.
This next section picks up from here and goes through 2 hours, 10 minutes and 57 seconds.
We know she's not going to tell the truth. And let's face it, once she got to a dead-end road, figuratively speaking, that's when we played crazy. Now, look at this with me. We're going to go back in time. There's no sound to this video. If you want me to play some music, I will. And this is the video from Roderick's security camera. I sped it up a little bit. Just watch Gannon coming out. Okay, there's her. He's got a very slow gait. Angel P says because he's drugged. By this time, he had the hydrocodone in his system. Sinclair said he had proof, the wounds, and he had her. Al was already checked out. She knew her life would be ruined if Gannon told. I think that too. I think that too. I think she was really Monday was go day for her. And she knew with hitting him in the head, burning him, I think she was hoping that the hydrocodone would kill him. I don't know. I don't know what her logic was there. But the crazy errands, we go to Petco twice. Then there's a block of time where she's just driving around. She said she was going to meet somebody on Craigslist to get him a bike. That never happened. I think she was working up the nerve to figure out what to do with him. She knew she could not risk him telling anybody what went down on Sunday night. No way. It also came out this week. A cell expert said that she used his phone 2 times after calling 911. She was all over the damn place. All over the place. All right, now we get to her personalities. Whew.
Different personalities. Yeah, to tell us more about them. So I wasn't allowed to go to people's houses and spend the night, or I was scared to let people come to my house and spend the night because I didn't ever know if he was going to have like an episode. Like when you have like episodes, we have to like run into the car and drive around till he passed out and sleep, and then we would sneak back in the house. So I didn't ever know like if I had friends stay over the weekend. Like I didn't want them to be exposed to that, you know, because people pick on, you know, in school, people pick on, you know. So that around the time I was like 10 or 11, I just started like almost like being able to like take myself out of the situation and let another part of me be the one get molested. And that was when I came up with Harmony. And Harmony can like tell you about the beef and dip. I try not to do it because I've stored it in a place far away, you know what I mean? But so I started let Harmony be the one be molested and not me. Because that way, if my friends ever ask me, you know, like, why come you can't come over? I could create like a perfect picture in my world that you can come over one day, it'll be great, we'll do this, we'll play ball, we'll hang out. I didn't want to.
Okay. Shit that didn't happen for 500 is what I'm going to take. This is where she's trying to convince a psychiatrist about how one of her personalities would come out and get molested instead of her. What really hacks me off about all of this is there's people that are really suffering, but we have to waste our time on Leticia, aka Harmony. Got to be kidding me.
I wanted to go to that world where they had to know, like, I was getting molested, because my friends would have been like their moms and stuff like that would have been like, you need to tell somebody. You need to do this. And I was always scared of losing softball too, so but that was like my outlet.
So you created it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a personality, so did you create anyone else?
When, remember, I told you I lived in the trailer? That was in 1996. That was during the Olympics. The U.S. women's gymnastics team had won a gold medal. And that.
Gold medal Leticia. I won a gold medal, but she loves to tell everybody about her achievements. I don't think she was ever essayed either. What has not happened to this woman? What has not happened to her? All of this is because she would rather go to the hospital as opposed to the prison. I like how the one doctor, I wasn't really impressed with her, but I do like how she said all these vampires were not brought up before. She saved the vampires for her. Mrs. O said she's calculating her plea and creating her story. Yep. Got to throw some SA in there, don't you? Throw that in there. There's going to be somebody on the jury that's going to feel sorry for you, right? That's what she's thinking.
I played another personality doing that. That's Christina Brianna, and she's friends with like Harry Strub, Dominic Dogs, and a bunch of people that are on the team. And like I had the whole trailer to myself, so she would like be able to like create apparatuses and like do like balance things off stuff, you know, like because maybe days my mom would be gone, you know, and so that was just the way I would cope with. No, and not knowing if my mom was going to take us back there. Because I knew she would. Every time she said she was never going back, we'd go back. Because I helped me deal that year. Because I did stay really good in school. You know what I mean? Because my plan was like to get out one day, you know, and do really good, which I did end up doing really good in school. So, you know, I have a doctorate degree. But like, if it wasn't for being able to use it different, I guess you could probably like persona or whatever. I wouldn't have been able to live with her.
We have Harmony. Christina was the other one.
That was from when I was little. As I got older, there was more like Leticia and Taylor. There's Maria, she's protected her. They like I don't sometimes like if you look at like, a lot of my different social medias, they have different names. Different page, different one. You could always talk to when I played softball because like if I was in Leticia, like Leticia at ambidextrous, so like I could left-handed and left-handed, and like sometimes people wouldn't understand when I go to the plate, and they'd be like, "Hey, you need to hit left-handed, and you need to like," because there'd be like a run if you know like baseball. There's like a run in second and third. They're like, "You need to hit left-handed," but if I was in that personality, I couldn't hit left-handed.
We have, as you got older, there was Leticia.
Look at her. Look how she's bobbing her head around. Like she thinks this lady's buying this hook, line, and sinker. Barb wanted to know how long ago the stepfather was killed. Dakota was 7. She's 14 years older than Dakota. Dakota's not much older than Harley. So years ago. Bonafide said she needs constant praise. Yeah, she does. She does. And so the morning that she keeps Gannon home from school, she has all these silly errands, murders Gannon. She texts someone. I'm still not sure if she had a job to go to or not, but whatever. Wouldn't matter to Leticia. Says, I can't go to work because my stepfather got ran over by a car. Oh, okay. He was, but many, many years ago. Shayla says, does anyone really know or verify that she has a doctorate degree? I've seen no proof of that. Me either. I think this is a bunch of mail order stuff. I really do. I don't see her having the tenacity to get all the degrees that she says she has. Joyce says, do you think she left him in the truck when they got home? Did he get home after the pet store? Yeah. He got out of the truck. You see his shadow on the other side of the truck. And he was murdered in his bedroom between 2:14 and about 4 o'clock from what I gather. It's horrible. There's always a little bit of truth in what she says. It's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere. And let's face it, they brought out the big dogs to talk to this nut job, this narcissist, entitled, grandiose, histrionic POS. So they're having to sort all this out. Barb says, why did she go to Petco? She got a dog sweater or something like that.
Taylor? Mm-hmm. You said Taylor was the protector?
Yeah, Taylor's my main person. No, Maria's my protector. Taylor's my main personality.
Thank you. Maria.
Mm-hmm. Victoria is the only personality that I have like empathy in because I store so much of, you know, trauma. If you want me to like be like if a friend's talking to me and they need me to give them advice, I have to switch to Victoria to actually try and be empathetic at all. Like severely empathetic. You know what I mean? I just don't have to.
All right. Taylor's the main personality. Maria's the protector. Victoria is the one who has the most empathy and kindness.
And then Leticia, she's bipolar. She would be doing the most. Like, you'll notice when I'm on Leticia, actually the psychiatrist the other day came to take on this. She was doing the most. She's bipolar sick and she was up for 4 or 5, 6 days at a time, you know. So I think it's Kepler or something.
You know, only Leticia would have a bipolar personality. Now, how was her personality up for 6 days at a time, yet Leticia got sleep? How does that even make sense? I think this too, JM. JM said she probably paid for a doctorate, like she tried to buy a lie detector test. I bet she did.
They're currently on Kepler.
Kept Thompson. Yeah, that kept from. I was gonna go be back on the Zyprexa, but I'll be eating too much on it. I don't like it.
So who are we talking to right now?
Yeah. Okay.
When you say Taylor is the main personality, what do you mean by that?
It's like, okay, so you notice like where Leticia, she's like more like into her like thug life. I guess you can say like rap music, that kind of thing. But Taylor's everything is like Leticia all wanted to be because she gets to be like, yeah, kind to everybody, but like successful. She has a whole separate world, you know. She's married to Tyler. Yeah.
Taylor is married to Tyler. Taylor is everything Leticia wants to be. What I must have missed it, and I've watched this a couple of times, and I watched it yesterday. What personality is the doctor supposed to be talking to? She's not good at this. Because she's using Leticia in third person. Taylor's kind to everybody. Taylor's married to Tyler. She's everything that Leticia wants to be. What? Uh-huh. No.
Yes.
Taylor wanted to be in, but you get married to Tyler.
No. Taylor is everything Leticia. You got it backwards.
She's married to Tyler. Okay. Uh-huh. True Crime with Shannon said, and which one killed Gannon? I guess Maria Sanchez. I don't know. You notice I keep watching her. She keeps kind of looking to the side. I love how she's strapped down. She seems very comfortable in those cuffs. She must be used to them. And she keeps looking. Let me see. She keeps looking to her right. She keeps looking to her right. Welcome, Joyce. Welcome, welcome.
Yes. Taylor is married to Tyler and have 3 kids, Ariana, Alicia, and Adriana.
Yes.
And just decided to get married, so that would happen. So I think we have each other for real bit, like know each other. But it was to keep from having to do those crazy things that were ugly. We wanted to make sure whatever we did never hurt anything to do with children. So it was good on that. But then early in our marriage, Albert goes to Oklahoma. He's away at Oklahoma. He's away in Colorado Springs for training.
Okay, so now she's talking in first person. Early in my marriage, but a little bit before, she's talking about Leticia in third person. You know, you got to feel bad for those doctors.
And I'm taking care of the kids on his weekends to make sure he didn't lose his weekend. So I would have the kids on his weekend, but he would be in Oklahoma and he'd be in Colorado Springs. So like a lot of our marriage, I'd say 85% of it, we never even lived together. We never lived together until Colorado, like officially lived together. Because, yeah, that was when we moved to Colorado Springs. Because we moved to Colorado Springs in March, but he didn't come yet from Alaska. Now I have got the kids in school and stuff, so we're really lived together. And so I started working at French, and I got back from probably graduating high school, and then we had all went on a cruise. So really, it was August 2019 when we actually like lived together. So it was more of like almost like a convenience. Like I feel like the marriage of convenience was I did everything for the kids. I took care of the kids. You understand? I worked and we could buy whatever we wanted because we both had really good incomes. And I know that whatever, but that's the truth. That's what it more so like.
When you started dating Albert, were you still living in North Carolina?
So this was South Carolina.
Living in South Carolina.
Okay, so she's back to that. He was in Colorado Springs, Alaska, had to go to Oklahoma, and she said she's taking care of the kids. That's her biggest gripe. Now, Al jumped out of the frying pan into the fire, okay? They were married like a year after they started dating. They all met on this softball league. Landon was on it too, from what I understand. Did she think the kids, it's not a package deal? Did she think the kids weren't going to be around? What did she think when Al said, hey, I think a storm's a brewing over at their mother's house. I've got to get custody of them. Did she not think that she was going to be around them a lot more?
Did you and Albert ever have any problems?
No, like, okay, so our mom is a nurse practitioner for a psychiatrist. A lot of extensive experience in psychiatry. They would constantly tell Albert, I needed to be on medication or I need to be doing this throughout our whole marriage. You know what I mean? So that would cause a lot of problems. Like even if you look at the report that she wrote police before I got arrested, she talks about, you know, in there about, you know, 1 minute I'm this way, 1 minute I'm that way. You know what I mean? So like basically was married to him and her. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't necessarily a lot of physical. There was not, you know, any physical abuse. It was a lot of emotional abuse. He's a narcissist. So, you know, he's the victim and everything. And he took advantage of my mental, sometimes I way my mental status would be, and like go to his mom about it, and they'd all try to like, you know, tell me I need to be on this meds, or I need help for this, or I'm crazy, and I'm, you know. So it was more so mental and emotional. You know, there's never any physical up until the end.
Okay, so her mother-in-law, who's a nurse practitioner for a psychiatrist, I'd love to know how this was presented to him, said, you need to get her on medication. There's something wrong with Leticia. So, according to Al, she was on medication. She had generalized anxiety disorder. We heard about that in another case. Garden variety anxiety does not make you a homicidal maniac. Generalized anxiety doesn't make it where you can't control yourself when you come across an 11-year-old who you're in charge of and you're supposed to be taking care of and love. That is insane to even suggest that.
when we got custody of the kids, he thought I was in cahoots with her, which I guess you can kind of say I was. So if you look at my phone records, you'll see my plan was leaving, but I didn't want to leave the kids. There were messages you can see me say, I don't want to leave the kids because I know they would get taken care of. So we had custody of them. But their mom, she started dabbling in drugs, but she wasn't ready to get the kids back yet. So my plan to her was always like, I'm gonna let you know right before I leave. You better have a house, you better have everything together, and then I'll help you get the kids back to the lineup. So when he
Now that must have been tough to take yesterday. I don't know if this conversation between her and Landon ever happened before. I really don't know. Now, I did hear that Landon was supposed to testify, but yesterday, if I heard them correctly, they said they have 2 more witnesses, and I know one is a doctor. Now, we've been hearing that Lena is supposed to testify, but at one time, Landon was on there too. Landon's not on this one I have on the screen, but Lena is highlighted. Because Lena, I don't really think they need Lena, but Lena can fill in all the puzzle about what happened with the candle. Because I still have a lot of questions about the whole candle thing. True Crime with Shannon said, could they be rebuttal witnesses? They could. I don't know. But they were both on the witness list. Because I would really like to know if this happened. Did she really tell Landon to get her stuff in order and she was going to help her get her kids back? Because that is, next to what she did to Gannon, is one of the crappiest things she could ever do to Al. Of course he wants his children with him. I would love to know if this conversation ever really happened. Now, when stuff all went down, Landon wasn't acting like a big champion to her because Landon attacked her on Facebook and said, take the pics of my babies down. Over the top, and I'm sick of it. My baby waving goodbye? What type of sick person? Games and trails. I don't know what trails are. Games and trails and inhumane. Because she posted a picture of Gannon waving goodbye. Is that not a kick in the gut? And there's Landon saying, take it down. Take it down.
found out that what he called it, was in cahoots with her, that's when he started getting violent and aggressive, like throwing lamps in the house, there's a video on my phone they have where he stopped the car, because I record it all the time, because I wanted to keep all that evidence for Landon to have. And he's beating the piss out of Gannon, and he's flinging stuff like irate because he thinks we're all in cahoots against him to get the kids back. And he's like,
does anybody really believe that Al beat the piss out of Gannon because he believed Landon and Leticia were in cahoots against him? No, I don't believe that for a minute. No way. No.
you're just trying to take the kids from me. You're trying to get them back to their mom. So once I got the Colorado Springs and we lived together, that's when it became like that. There was no hitting me with his hands. It was just pointing stuff in the house, being angry, slamming doors, punching doors. Like, he would get like that because he was working down. I was working with her. I mean, which I guess you can see it as me working with her, but I felt like if I left, they wanted to be taken care of. Like, he was going to do schoolwork. He was going to make sure they clean. Nobody, he wouldn't. So he doesn't have that nurturing piece or that ability to multitask or none of those things. So in a way, I was kind of working with her to get the kids back home, but I guess he took that as me going against him. I was doing what was right for them. Yeah.
I was doing what was right for them. Well, you know what, Leticia? I wish you would have gotten the kids back with their mother. I truly do. No offense to Al, but Al wasn't home very often, so he didn't know what was going on between her and Gannon. But this is a real punch in the gut for her to say that. And if there was a recording on her phone of him beating the piss out of Gannon, well, Al would be in trouble. They did not leave any stone unturned in this investigation at all. Welcome in the decks. What a cool name. I love the blue butterfly. What a cool name. I love the avatar too. Look at that. I don't know. I really want to know if this ever happened. I really want to know. Because, Al's in the courtroom every day. I don't know about Landon, but Al is there every single day, and he's having to hear this. And there was issues between the three of them. Leticia was very jealous of Landon. Landon had her own issues going on. And Al was kind of caught in the middle. I mean, stuff that never happened, he was hearing about. How many times do you think Al looked like a fool taken up for Leticia? Many times. And then he finds out she lied.
And so the kids would have been his kids.
Right. If you look at all the school paperwork, who always talked to, up until he realized what I was doing, that I was collecting evidence to get the kids back home to her, because she had already promised me that I could see the kids whenever I wanted and care about them, like that she would not take them out of my life. She had already told me that. And so once I started collecting, he would notice I'd be driving down the road and I'd have the phone on. And I'd just start collecting everything, because I'm already a paranoid person. But I knew if I start collecting stuff, I would have it to give to her for everything. Because I wanted her to get her sobriety first, get a home, whatever. And once he noticed I started doing that, that's when it got a little bit violent with him speaking. I was trying to set him up and take the kids from him. His weren't paranoia. His was just because he knew I was right. He knew that everything I was collecting was preparing for when I left. Because if you even look at my phone searches on the evidence, you'll see that I was looking for a place to stay. I was getting everything in order. I had already told Gannon on Wednesday, I'm going to call your mother and tell her what's going on, but we gotta wait till Wednesday. The reason I said wait till Wednesday, because I was starting that flight attendant job, and I wanted to make sure that everything had went through my flight attendant, that I had been officially hired. I was going to the training, everything before I said something to her that, hey, I'm leaving. You know what I mean? Here's our plan. This is what we're going to do to get the kids back. They wanted to go with me, but I told them, I was like, don't charge me with kidnapping. If you call the country, we got to have a plan, so. But that was always the plan. So they can call it cahoots, whatever they want to call it. But my plan was to make sure I know that Rhonda and Matt would take care of that. So Landon's mom and dad.
It doesn't work that way. I'm going to help Landon get the kids back. Get real. It doesn't work that way, lady. No freaking way. A judge has to make that decision. And judges really don't like to overturn other judges' decisions. And so since a judge already made the decision that the better parent at the time was Al for the kids, they're not just going to suddenly say, oh, okay, now they can go back to Landon because Leticia wants to be a flight attendant and find a new man. Doesn't work that way. She's not a very good salesman.
And as long as when I was in South Carolina and I had the kids, they were the only two people that helped me with anything I had by myself. So I knew they would be safe with it. Whatever I needed to do to prepare them to have them, that was the method I was taking. So.
And about how many months, maybe before this alleged offense happened, did things take where he really became aggressive?
I know it sounds I've created so many different personas in my life in so many different ways to cope with everything I've been through. The sunlight is one of them. Like being in somewhere warm, being somewhere where I can use those coping skills to help me when I have a flashback, you know, when I wake up from a nightmare, so I tried to talk to him about it. And I said, hey, Colorado and me just don't, you know, like it's causing me to get worse mentally. I was having more of my manic episodes. I was just like having more episodes where I'd forget and lost the time. And a lot of it was because I didn't have those coping skills. Like you can't play softball here in Colorado. You know what I mean? Not during the months that I'm used to playing back home. And so, you know, all these skills I built over time were taken from me in Colorado. So when I got here officially in August, it was weird because I had to do outside duty work too. For teaching, you know, to have like outside duty, stuff like that. It was freezing in September, you know, and I was like, I wanted to do something else or let me go be a flight attendant where I could do warm sometimes. And I'll set my schedule where I'll be with the kids a few days a week and I'll be a flight attendant a few days a week.
I've always wondered with this flight attendant stuff, how were they planning on taking care, of childcare? I have a feeling this is yet something else that didn't happen. I don't think she was about to go work for Frontier or Spirit or anything like this. I think it was another lie of hers because Al has to travel all the time. Were they expecting Harley to watch the children? Because you can't just ship them back to their mom. It doesn't work that way. They don't live on base. They have their own home. This is just something else that just was not going to happen. But she's going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning. But what she doesn't even realize is she paints herself into a corner every single time. Every single time. But the whole thing with Landon, it's obviously not the craziest thing she's ever said. The vampire thing was just stupid. Just flat out stupid. But the thing with Landon, I do wonder if she wasn't working on something like that. Because her searches, and she tries to explain away the searches. You can even tell I was looking for places to live. No, you weren't. You weren't looking for places to live until the going really got tough and you had to get the hell out of Colorado. You were look at search number 12, find a guy without kids. She knows she cannot hold down a job. She's always had a big problem keeping jobs. She has to have. Al is a very codependent person as well. Al's always going to have a woman on his arm. But she has a different type of codependency. She's got to have someone take care of her. Who the hell, after you've had this marriage with Al that you say he beat the piss out of Gannon and was so terrible to you, why would you be looking for another man? It's because so you can lay your ass on the couch and make up fake jobs and degrees. Sick. She's sick. Pale said T didn't have friends. Everyone was a victim or a flying monkey, and that is for sure. Wherever she goes, she would cause a shitstorm, and then she'd have to move to the next job, the next group of people. But now it's all Colorado's fault because she likes to play softball in September. No accountability, and that's not mental illness. She's just a bee. She is just evil. Selfish, self-centered, grandiose. She's horrible. She's horrible. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have got for today. It's going to be kind of a weird day. I'm used to spending it all day with you with the trial going on. But we'll be back tomorrow. Don't you worry. We're going to do a complete live about Oakley Snow. They did confirm that the remains that they found last week are her. It's a horrible situation and not for the faint of heart because it's going to make you furious. We're going to go through part of the probable cause because there's a lot of repeats in it. So make sure you set that reminder. Remind all. It'll be at 8:15 tomorrow morning. Like I said, get ready, and then we will watch the trial together. I want to say thank you very, very much for your unwavering support of the channel. Carol, thank you so much. OJ got a super sticker from Carol. It was raining memberships. Raining. Thank you so much to Carol, CR, Barb, Diana, Big T, Bonafide. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody for being here in support for Justice for Gannon. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning about Oakley Snow. I should have it posted here in the next couple of hours. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you over in Discord or one of the Facebook groups.